Hello, art stars. So we have reached the last lesson of this term. And as you can see, I'm prepared here with my brush, some acrylic paints, a good old cereal box that I've opened up already. And for you, it'll be your notebook, but I've got a piece of paper here, pencil, and of course, a water cup. Now, before we start making our stencils, I thought I would add a bit of color straight onto my paper and let it dry for a bit while we do our stencils that will come on top of the color. So let's jump straight in. Without thinking about it too much, if you want to put some music on for this part and just sort of take a minute to listen to the music and let that inspire you, please do that. I'm going to go ahead and jump in with some colors and just do a bit of free color. And maybe we'll get a bit of this one in here. And I'm not going to cover my whole page. I just want a little bit of texture there in the background. So really simple. I'm going to set this to one side and let that dry and grab my cardboard instead. Now what I like to do with stencils is work with smaller pieces and then rearrange them as I'd like on the paper. So I'm going to go ahead and cut this down a little bit. Probably don't even need the whole cereal box. Any food packaging cardboard is great for this. Boxes don't work as well because the cardboard's really thick. So when you lay your stencil down on the paper, there's quite a big step you need to get into to get your color sorted. So we're gonna work with this. I'm gonna cut this maybe into half here. And always when we're working with scissors, please be mindful of your fingers. Make sure you're doing it safely. If you need to ask an adult to help you out with some of the cutting out, that might be a good idea as well. You know, this is kind of a good size, I think, but obviously depending on what design you want to make, what size you're going to go with. Lovely. And again, I'm just not going to think about the shapes too much right now because I want this to be sort of quite organic. So I'm going to draw some free shapes. And when you're cutting stencils, it's important to remember that where your line is, that whole bit is going to get cut out. So if I wanted something like this full circle, then I follow this line. But if I wanted to make this, let me show you with a different piece, more of an outline, what I would do is almost like a really closed up C shape. So instead of closing up the whole circle, you leave a small gap, as you can see as I did there, then draw in and make a shape like that, and I'm not gonna cut this out. And if you're doing more intricate shapes, it sometimes helps to kind of draw a pattern on the bit that is gonna get cut out, so you don't get confused as to what part you cut out and what part you don't. So just like that, so that I know to cut out this bit. And still leave the center attached to my main part. So if I cut this out now and show you, please be careful. This is the hardest part. And if you kind of separate your piece of cardboard from the table and punch in a bit of a hole, if this one's proving a bit hard, you can always use your pencil or an old pen that doesn't work anymore and poke a little hole through it, and then you can fit in your scissors. So we cut around this, and round shapes are always harder to cut than straight shapes. I've gone all for very sort of roundy bits. Just keep that in mind. If you're struggling to cut these out, straight shapes are sometimes a bit simpler. And you can cut away little pieces that are getting in the way. And take your time with this part, because the cleaner your cuts, the nicer your stencil is going to come out. And it can be very tricky to work with a cardboard sometimes. So as you can see, this is leaving a little bit of a rough edge here, but that's okay. We get it as clean as we can. And see how our stencil's looking. And what I love about stencils is that once you've got a shape that you really love, you can use it so many times over and in different colors and in different positions, and it changes your shape a bit. Being really careful when you're getting to this edge so we don't accidentally cut away the part that we need to hold this shape together. And there we go. And sometimes you've got a little corner that's hanging on. You can just twist it a little bit until it comes away. So when we're doing lettering, for example, A's and O's and things like that, this is how you would get around it. You always find a little bit where you can leave a little hole. Let's do one more shape before I cut out the rest. Let's see, I've got my semicircle, my circle, my little squiggly line. I'm gonna do like a little snake here. Like that. And cut them all out. So it's sometimes helpful if you've got a few shapes to punch a hole in all of them. And again, this is the bit where you might want help from an adult, because it can be a little bit difficult sometimes. It takes a bit of strength to puncture through. Like that. Let's leave these to one side and cut away. And just keep in mind that the thinner your shape and the more intricate it is, the more challenging it'll be to cut them out. but they can give some amazing results sometimes if you do some thinner shapes or some more complicated cutouts. There we go. Those are my shapes ready. Now I've gone for some really sort of general shapes, but you can do, like I said before, letters, you can do animals, flowers, whatever inspires you. And that's what I love about stencils. Really, it's the same as a blank piece of paper. You can take it anywhere you want. So let's grab our paper here. It's almost dry. And if yours isn't dry and you've gone for the same effect as me, just give it a few minutes, go grab a drink, you know, hydrate, get some water, feel what you want to do with your positioning, and then get started. So I really like this. I'm going to start with this shape. And it's very simple. What we do is lay the piece over, grab our brush, grab your color, and you start filling out the shape. Now the nice thing about cardboard is that you can even keep these if you want. And you can use them several times over. Get that nice and full. I've done them just with plain paper before, and the risk you run with that is that the paint kind of breaks it a little bit. So I'm going to use one of my empty cardboards just to lay my pieces over so I don't paint the table. It's important if you want to lay some newspaper or something so you don't have to think about where you're positioning your pieces. That can help as well. And let's switch colors. I forgot to grab some, but it's always good to have some spare tissues or some kitchen roll to wipe your brush and help it clean off. So I think we're gonna put this one here. And what I like about the underlayer of color is that you get, even through the shape of the acrylic, you can get some of the underneath texture coming through and different tones of the color. Go, beautiful. And you can decide being mindful always of where your wet pieces are. If you want to take this in stages and overlay more of your stencils together, you just have to give it a little bit of time for it to dry. So for example, this I want in between here. I'm going to be very mindful of the pressure on my yellow and my pink here on the edges. And we're going to grab a bit of this brown, I think. That's quite nice for this. Lovely. And really gently. So as you can see here, where I've laid my paper, it's left a little bit of a texture here. I don't mind it. It goes a bit with the texture I'm doing, but just if you want to avoid that, let it dry, and then keep layering your pieces. And we're gonna bring this one over here. I think with the same brown. It's quite nice. Ooh. And this can happen, it sometimes shifts, so just, it's good to take it slow when you're doing these, so you're not accidentally moving things around. And the other thing I like about these stencils is the shape you get on these outlines. So if I bring it closer to you, I don't know if you can see, but the outlines are thicker paint than in the middle. And you can always use that to your advantage in thinking of the shape. Let me see, let's grab, I think I'm going to do another squiggle coming off of here. Maybe like so. It's also to show you I'm sort of mixing all the colors, but it's a good idea to take one color at a time. And so maybe start with all your yellows, then all your pinks, or whatever color you're using. So let's see, what do I want to use here? I think I'm going to mix a bit of pink and a bit of yellow, just like that on my brush, half and half. And it'll create these different shades at different points. Let's add a bit more yellow and a bit more pink on top. And because I have a bit of brown already on that stencil, it's come out with this beautiful sort of mix of colors. And I think we're gonna do another squiggly because I really like this one. Ooh. Minding your brush. Gonna lay it here, and I'm trying to lift so I don't touch this one that's super fresh. Lovely. And we're gonna do one more here, I think. Big glob of paint there. Lovely. And I think we're gonna do one more here in the middle. And I might even leave this one not touching the paper, and we'll experiment. We'll try what happens if I use it almost like just a guiding tool here. So you can have fun with the positioning of your stencils as well. Angle them and see what happens if that changes your results. And as you can see, it's easy as pie. Here we've got my lovely little print of stencils. I can't wait to see what you guys do. Please take it any direction you want. I love to see the variety that you guys create. And will see you on Zoom with your stencil creations. A final reminder that you can always translate these onto clothes or tote bags or anything you've got, maybe it's got a stain on it. You can always use your stencils to print on top of that as well. Okay, see you art stars. Bye.